Yes. Well, it was a great evening, so thank you to everybody who made it out last night. Hey, my name is Ryan, I'm the lead pastor here at Crossroads Church. I am a white, cisgendered, heterosexual male, which means that I have been afforded all kinds of privilege in a country that was built for people that look and love and worship and think about the world like I do. And part of following the peacemaking path of Jesus means recognizing that privilege and leveraging it for the sake of others and saying, how can we bring justice to all? How can we bring and structures that support and bring that same privilege to everyone, regardless of race, gender, immigration status, all of that? And that really is what we're trying to do here as a community of faith. All right, now, I got to go quick today. I know, we got all kinds of stuff. Some of you, like your pacemaker just kicked off. That was like, what? And it kicked off because you were like, if he says that, and he normally talks for as long as he talks, I better, get on the Wi-Fi and turn down the crock pot or something. I don't know, but just hang in there with me. Listen, last week I mentioned this book, The Wisdom Pattern by Father Richard Rohr, and it said on your talk notes, it's in the back if you want to purchase a copy. That's because we prepare things in advance, and I ordered them in advance, but they didn't show up in time, so they weren't back there. So I don't know if some of you went back there, but they're there now. So if you're interested in grabbing a copy of this book, it's $15. Feel free to go grab it. If you don't have the $15, just take one. I'll pay for it, all right? So it's a wonderful book that's kind of intersects with our topic last week, okay? It's good to see you all. No? Okay, fair enough. That's cool. That's just, I guess it's a one-way street today. That's fine. That's all right. I'm loved at home. All right, that's cool. How many of you love to fail? Like you wake up in the morning and like, today I want to be a failure. That is top on this. No, I don't like to fail. I hate failing. You can ask Wendy. One thing about me is that I get rather tenacious when I start to face some sort of adversity. Now, granted, being a white heterosexual male in America, I don't face much adversity, all right? Contrary to what might be out there, I really don't. Most adversity I face is of my own doing, right? Whether voluntarily or whatever. But I feel like I'm just kind of wired to keep going. I'm wired in such a way that if somebody says, you can't do that, my first response is, watch me. Watch me. You can't, you're not allowed. Okay, well, we'll find out. But here's what I know about me, right? I am not a superlative. Do we have any superlatives in the room? You know who you are. You know, if you don't know what a superlative ends in the phrase est. So you are like the smartest. You are the fastest, right? You could throw the football the farthest. You can shop the bestest, right? You are a superlative. I'm not a superlative. I'm obsessive, right? That's what I am. I'm just like, don't quit. Right? So when I've started things in life, it's generally because I'm kind of wired to try to do difficult things, and I'm just wired to not give up. I don't know why. I don't finish well, but I'll finish. That's just the way I look at it, right? I'm not the fastest, but I have a really hard time giving up. So for example, this manifests in my life. Every year, I watch all of the movies that are nominated for Best Picture for the Oscars. Right? Now, not all the Oscar nominees, but the 8 usually that are nominated, we watch it, and then we usually end up with some friends, and we have kind of an Oscar party. And I've watched all of them, and I'm going to tell you what, 7 out of 8 of them suck. And they're long. Sucks. I'm sorry, I had to finish that sentence. I know it's not I shouldn't, but they're long, and it's like, but Wendy's healthy, my spouse. Wendy is healthy. She's like, this is awful, I'm out. Right? She doesn't have any need to finish it. I'm like, what is wrong with you? How do you have that much security that you can just not finish something? You need to be way unhealthier like me, right? So I have to finish it. A book, I'll finish that book no matter how bad it is. I can't not finish it. It's impossible for me. And I've learned in this obsessive nature that doing difficult things teaches us resilience. That just having that at times pathological obsessive reality in my life, that the positive side of that is that there is this nature to just not wanting to give up. There was a great book that was written about 15 years ago that really examined what are the factors that cause children to succeed in education. And it kind of came out of a lot of research that was being done around how many of y'all remember the No Child Left Behind Act, right? And the research showed that that really had nothing to do with children's success. Early intervention had very little to do with children's success. It was the nature of the interventions. It was the nature of the education environment. And it was talking about what really causes success in children are a couple of things, and one of them is grit. Grit. If children are in environments where they're encouraged to be curious and they're encouraged to persist, that those are the key factors in terms of their ability to be successful, right? So rather than being static with our words of encouragement to children to say, oh, you're so smart, right? The better encouragement is, wow, you have worked hard. Look at how hard you worked, right? Because what happens is if we live in static language, if we say you're so smart or you're so good at something, when our children face up against something that they're not inherently good at, what do they think? I'm not smart. I'm dumb. Some of you are like, oh, that just explained my whole childhood, Ryan. I'll put $180 for therapy today in the donation basket. I know how much therapy costs. And this stuff is free every week. We don't even force it. But that's the truth. It's this grit. And if you're honest, how many of you want to be thought of as a gritful person? You want to be a resilient person, right? Raise your hand up nice and high. Own it so I know you're here for a reason today. Good. Because that's what this is about. We want to be resilient, but none of us wake up in the morning and go, I hope today's a hard day. Right? No. Nobody goes, you know what? I hope this is the worst day of the week at work. I just hope everything goes bad because at the end of the day, I'll know I'll be stronger for it. I'll put a smile. No. But here's the thing, without resistance, we'll never learn resiliency. If we don't face resistance in our lives, without struggle, we will never find our strength. It just can't happen. Now, resistance can manifest in our lives in lots of ways. Resistance can be physical, right? We can feel something opposing us physically in our lives and can kind of start to zap our experience of hope. So maybe you're trying to be healthier and somebody brought in some sugar and your stomach starts growling a little bit. Or maybe you started a new exercise program, you started walking, whatever it might be, and it gets hard. That's your physical body offering you resistance. Maybe you're trying a new sport. Maybe you live in a world that has disabled you, that has put stairs everywhere, and stairs are difficult, right? There's resistance in that experience. It's physical. Resistance can manifest in our lives in spiritual or emotional ways, right? The heaviness, the weight of traumas in our lives, of heartbreak, of moral injury that we've experienced, of religious injury, financial stress, relationships that are difficult, right? We face resistance, and resistance can sap our ability and kind of it pushes against our ability to hope for a better future. And sometimes resistance is a product and manifests in systemic ways. And what that means is that there are ways in which the world is orchestrated, right? That make it difficult for certain bodies to navigate. And resistance that's systemic, those are the isms and the phobias that we see manifest in our life. That we see manifest in our public policies, that we see manifest in simple words and actions and language. It's the racisms and the sexisms, the homophobias, the xenophobias, like these things that fall into our world that make living difficult, just being difficult for lots and lots of people. Some of you in this room. And Partners in Hope, right? This weekend, our Partners in Hope weekend is all about being rooted in resilience. And Partners in Hope for us is kind of this fundamental, really formative, it's not just a program, but it's a way of understanding the purpose of our spiritual lives, of this peacemaking path. And Partners in Hope focuses our attention, our hearts, our energy on rewriting what we call 5 unacceptable truths here. And these are the spaces of pain and oppression, usually systematically oriented, that then manifest as resistance emotionally and physically. And these systematic spaces of pain and oppression, these 5 unacceptable truths, these unacceptable arenas, this is where the peacemaking path takes us. See, some people want the peacemaking path to take you to heaven. But I'm going to tell you right now, the peacemaking path takes you to hell. The peacemaking path takes you to hell on earth so that you might bring a bit of heaven. That's the point. And that's what we're about here. And so our 5 unacceptable truths that we work to rewrite, they're rooted in these systems of oppression. So religious systems that create spiritual emptiness, right? There are economic systems that continue to increase the gap between the poorest and the wealthiest in our world. There's political systems that perpetuate racism and sexism and homophobia, systems that perpetuate poverty, a lack of educational resources, systems of greed that commoditize and enslave bodies for financial and sexual gratification. These are the systems at work. These systems that are at play in our world, they're rooted in oppression and greed and fear and hate. And if we're going to rewrite these unacceptable truths, we need people who are rooted in resilience. So today, let's define resilience, all right? Let's define resilience as the quiet, stubborn refusal of the human spirit to surrender its capacity to hope. Thank you. Somebody tweet that. It's like once a year, Ryan, once a year. Nice. Right, let me say that one more time. Resilience is the quiet, stubborn refusal of the human spirit to surrender its capacity for hope. Some of you are so resilient because you do not surrender your capacity to hope that my sermons will end. You don't even know it, but I am building your resilience every time I speak. Every time you look at your watch, every time you think about what's next, and I'm still droning on and there's 7 fill-ins left, just see me as a purveyor of resilience. And today I'm excited because we're actually going to talk to a few resilient leaders that are on the front lines, rooted in resilience and rewriting the unacceptable truths. So will you do me a favor, please, and welcome to the Crossroads stage, Kat from Loveland's Community Kitchen and Bernice from the Jabez Community Center in Haiti. So we're excited to get to have a conversation this morning for a few minutes to hear from these resilient leaders. Yeah, no, we have a terrible habit of making things difficult with, I shouldn't have even, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so, all right, well, we're excited to have you here with us. Let's start with this question. Like, you all are superheroes, and superheroes have origin stories. And I think it'd be wonderful if we could hear, not necessarily the origin story of the work of the organization, although I think it will eventually intersect, but maybe take a few minutes and tell us about your origin story that produced the resiliency in the work that you're participating in right now. Maybe we'll start with you, Kat.
How many hours do we have?
Plenty. We're building resiliency.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. I'll try to keep it short. So I grew up in Hong Kong and spent 6 years in a convent. And I had an opportunity around 7 years old to go back to China where my father and my grandmother's origin from, to visit the village. And I remember one incident where a lady just kind of grabbed hold of me at a market and say, "Oh, you are so-and-so granddaughter." And I was like, "I don't know this woman," and I was very scared. And she's like, "Without your grandmother, this village will not exist." She has spent years during the World War II, the Japanese invasion, and give up everything the family has to feed the village. And that story kind of like tucked in, and I don't think about it. And as I continue my journey in the convent for a few more years, and I got to be coming to America with my family, I remember Mother Superior told me, "Hey, Katerina, this is actually my full name," and she's like, "I don't think staying in the convent in San Francisco would be your calling. Maybe you need to try to be like a, regular persons and grow up and see where God leads you." And again, that tucked in for a long time. So I felt like, well, I feel abandoned over and over again. Fast forward, as an immigrant woman, I grew up, have an entrepreneurial background. I built businesses. Working in the industry is very male-dominated, and thrive through that, and that's another story for another time. But I have an opportunity to volunteer at a kitchen, and we were feeding people at the time it's in Orange County in California. In a couple years, I find that calling to be, oh, Kat, you have a business background, so why don't you help us run this nonprofit? And that's when I started. And COVID camp happened, and we have to grow and have a lot more people needing food, even when they never even think they will be in the brink of that moment. And somebody asked me, like, what's your why? And that story that tucked in the back of my head come back, and it's like the epiphany of that day, of that moment where my calling was years before I was born, when my grandmother did what she think was the right thing to do for the fellow humans in the village. And at that moment, I believed God gave me that calling and has been the passions for feeding people, because everybody have to survive. Air is free, food and water, for some reasons, are not. And it became a privilege, and it shouldn't be, and that is why I'm here.
It's amazing. Thank you. Bernice, tell us about your origin story.
Well, it's a long story, but we'll summarize it. Originally, I was born in the Bahamas. If anybody knows the island of the Bahamas, it's kind of close to Haiti. My parents took the boat and went there. My mom got raped on the way there by my dad, etc. Then I went back to Haiti when I was 3 years old. So my mom dropped me in Haiti at 3, left me. She came to the United States, so I stayed there. I did not meet my mom until I was 14. She went back to Haiti and visit. And I came to America. My mom, of course, taking care of the paperwork to become U.S. citizen, and she brought me with the green card. I was about 17 years old. And I went to school here, college, etc. In my last year of college, my mom was working with a nonprofit organization. They used to go to Haiti back and forth. And I took a visit with her in 2007. But when I went there, my heart melted to see like the way the people were living, the children's, the dryness in that area. So from 2007 until 2014, I keep going back and forth with, 2013, keep going back and forth with mom to mission trips. And around 2014, and she told me, you know what? That organization no longer wants to continue the work in Haiti, in the Gosab area. That really got me. I felt something. I felt like, so if they no longer wants to go, who's going? Are they not gonna help? Because they were doing a lot of work, bringing food, bringing clothes, and etc. So that whole year, 2014, I keep thinking. I talked to people. I was thinking about it, and then just starting 2015, I find someone that was kind of like a mentor. I said, this is what my mom used to do, and they no longer want to do it. I feel like I need to continue the work. And she spoke with me, we talked. We had our first summer camp as Jabez in 2015. From there, 2015, we had summer camp. Michelle had helped me, her parents, a few people went to Haiti on a mission trip. 2016, we had seminary for the leaders. We had humanitarian help for Hurricane Matthew. We went to rebuild a few houses from the like in many places. I have found help to rebuild many of the houses that were destroyed by the hurricane. From that time until today, we built an elementary school in 2018. We keep going. It's just been nonstop. We keep going. Whether it's clothes, whether it's food, we give the kids a meal every day at the school. So the work is broad. It's not just having an elementary school. So it's wherever we are needed for whatever the season, however God put in our heart, we just fit in, we try to help in. So it's been a journey, but a very good journey. It has not been easy, but God gave us the strength to do it and open doors and resources. Sometimes the ideas will come, like Michelle knows. I just come with a broad idea. I'll say, Michelle, this come to me, and we navigate through. So, being in Haiti, there are a lot of resistance.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Like, it's in the work that you're doing with education and hunger and children, the work that you're doing here with the community kitchen around food insecurity. It's not all just like downhill,
No.
right? It's not all downstream. Like, there's some upstream moments, there's some uphill moments of resistance. So maybe talk about that, like what those like maybe one in particular resistance point in the work for each of you. Maybe Bernice, yeah, go ahead.
So there are so many resistance. Traveling to Haiti back and forth to Florida could be a great challenge because sometimes the road, sometimes the gang violence. You know, if you have to go to Port-au-Prince, thank God I don't have to go to Port-au-Prince anymore. I can go to Cap Haitian. But I remember one thing that had happened in this whole journey. When we first started, the land was given by the older generation to us for free. A few years later, around 2022, there was some resistance with the younger generation. They felt like the land should have been given, the land should have been purchased because that's their heritage. So it was a little tension back and forth, back and forth. I remember one trip, summer 2022, we had a truck loaded of stuff for construction and food, everything. And I got to the gate of the center. There were a group of young men that said, "You will not enter. Because this is our land, this is our heritage, we will not let you in." So imagine, I'm a single mom, I'm a woman, so I'm thinking all this and structure for police or whatever in Haiti, especially in that outskirt of the area in the village, is not the same as United States. You can say, "Oh, let me just call the cops." No. So I told the driver, just stop, let's think. I sat in the truck, I was crying. I was fear for a minute. I cried and I prayed. I said, "Lord," and the story that played in my head that night, because we got that real late. The story that played in my head that night was the 3 Hebrews that got on the fire. And I felt in my spirit, if the Hebrews had got burnt, God will still get the glory. They didn't get burned, God will still get the glory. At that moment, I said, I'm going to go down. I'm going to talk to them. If something happened, maybe that was the way God created me to go. If nothing happened, we'll figure it out. So I got down, I sat, I talked to them. I said, "Listen here, I understand your frustration, but maybe the generation before you did not understand to have a sit and talk to you guys to let you know this is what we're doing, because they feel like they're on the land, this is their land, they can do whatever. I have no problem. We can come up with a solution." I said, "You guys want the land to be purchased? I will purchase the land. Jabez will purchase the land. So everybody, I'm here." Think about it. I'm here. I don't have no cousin. I have no sister. I have no family in the area. So I have no reason to make any sacrifices. No reason. But I sat down. I talked to them. And then I went around after the trip, get resources. I brought about $7,000. We purchased the land. But one thing I learned, at that moment, I could have said, whatever, forget it. I don't have to be there. But the love in my heart for the work, I felt like this is part of my life. I'm a single mom of 3. I didn't have to. My children were born in the United States. I have no reason. But back and forth, my children were going to school in Haiti because of the work. So to me, when God puts something in your heart, there will be resistance, but with the love that He also put in your heart, even though there are moments you want to give up, you will not give up.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. I love it. Kat, how about in your experience? Resiliency, hope, resistance. Yeah.
I mean, we're living in America, we think that we all have the privilege and we all have the opportunities. One thing I've learned is that it's really not true, unfortunately. You know, since I'm an immigrant, I experience a lot of this different resistance in my life, and I can live and be witness and talk about those. But in the food insecurity world and the nonprofit that we worked in, there are people out there that would say, hey, you know, if you don't work, we shouldn't feed them. We're perpetuating that. Not understanding that there's a lot of burdens in our life that it is out of our own control. Yes, sometimes there are grief and maybe there's addiction issue, maybe there's mental issues. But if we don't provide them nutrition and sustenance, how are they able to actually step out of those, you know, burdens and thrive and learn and try to survive? And I think it's just a really basic human needs. And those are those voices that always keep us from taking the next steps. You know, the kitchen opened the door for everyone. There's no barrier. We don't check your ID. We don't care where you come from. We don't care what your bank account looks like, unlike some of the other nonprofit. It's not because they're better, they're worse. It's just we don't want to, because of a grant or some financial support that require us to do a certain criteria check, we have to turn people away from the table. That's not the reason why we do what we do. We do what we do because we want to make sure people know that we love them, we care for them, we listen to them. And food is such a conduit to connect all of us. We have breakfast, lunch, dinner. You know, you have birthday, we always gather and have food. Last night we have a gala, we have, you know, surrounded by food. And that's a connection, and that's what Jesus does. He goes around with his disciples, and he always gather and have banquets and eats and you know, the loaves and fishes. He doesn't care the 5,000 who you are. People are hungry, let's feed them. And that's what we do. We need to feed people, and while food it's a survival for us in our body, but also it's a way for us to feel our soul, that we know that we are not alone. Unfortunately, when we go out and spread the words and try to bring awareness, we always have, you know, those resistance, those call, you know, why are you doing this? You're perpetuating the problem. But the problem is deeper than that. It's not in the surface, right? And we don't have the wherewithal to change the systemic, but we can do is that one meal for that one person, it changed that day and how they go about on that day. And I think that is something that we strive to do, even in my heart. It's hard, and people say, well, we have to turn away people. We don't turn away people, we can't, because that's not what we call to do. But the noise are out there, the voices are out there, and it's hard to see, even in America, where we have so much abundance. I mean, literally, USDA said 40% of the food produced in America never even get to the market or the wholesalers. And if we, even as collectively, say, hey, let's redirect those food and feed the people who need. I mean, it's that resources is being wasted, and why we not use, you know, some of that thought process and say, hey, let's reallocate resources, but instead they're like, oh, you know what? It's easier to throw it in the trash and recycle because the process is too hard, or oh, you know, the legal systems and people don't want to get sued, and so all those resistance of things that allow us to, you know, that really is take away from what is humans' is basic need. And I think we have to rethink about those process. But it's a uphill battle sometimes to re-educate that thought.
Absolutely. Wow. Thank you. Thank you both. Let's finish our conversation with this question. What's a dream, a hope, which those are different, I get, so you can speak to whichever one, but that you have for your work, for what you're engaged in, for the unacceptable truth that you are actively rewriting? Like, what is something that you're currently like hoping for, dreaming about, wanting to see happen in your work? Maybe Kat, start with you.
I think it's really simple right here. I'm not here to change the world, but all of us sitting here have a duty, have a call of actions to service. Really take that step and educate. I think the most important part is advocating for people and change the perspective. Because, yes, I loved it. We have a lot of volunteers that are sitting here that help us, but also our voice. We have to use our voice to change that thought process. And as you share with people what you do to help the different nonprofit you work with, especially in hunger, it's very simple. Have you eaten today? Yeah. So why is it okay for you to have food and not okay for the other person? And think about how we can bring that thought process into the conversations. It's so simple. It's so simple.
Yeah, wonderful. So a broader aspect of education and speaking up amongst all of us. That's great. Bernice, how about you?
If I were to leave this world today, I don't want to be known for someone that was successful. I want to be known for someone, that little piece of land in Haiti that make a difference. For me, in the near future or at any time in GOSAB Haiti, it's only the basic. You see the thing that you have here for free, access to water, education, a good meal. There are so many children, there are so many people in Haiti that don't have that access. My hope is one day is for GOSAB, anybody go to GOSAB, that water should not be a reason that you don't take a bath or, let's just skip the meal because the water is too far or the river does not have it. It's for me to see that the community of GOSAB have access, not just water, but clean water. My hope is every children that I encounter in GOSAB have access to basic education. I know I cannot create a kingdom for them, but however, they have access to elementary, high school education without their parents afraid, what if something happened that my children won't have education? To have a trade school in the area where kids can, because they have potential, they can learn. They have a lot of potential. You'll be amazed how people lack of things, and if they just give the opportunity, how much they can do. So, and I would love in the future for those children, the next generation. I cannot change Haiti. Haiti has a lot to do, things to do. I cannot change Haiti, but that piece of land where I had stepped my feet on, one day, I hope to see kids, people in the area have access to education, clean water, health centers. So this is my hope.
Love it. Wonderful. Well, can we thank our guests for being here today? Thank you so much. Thank you. And you will be around afterwards for folks that want to say hi and maybe learn more and figure out how to connect. And maybe I know we have a group of folks that are already partnering and volunteering at the community kitchen. We have one person who's at least been to Haiti, and maybe there's some other folks that want to go, and we can help empower them to organize a trip to see the work and experience that there. So let's give them another great big hand. Thank you. Jeremiah chapter 17 is a really fascinating passage in our sacred text. Jeremiah was a prophet, and as the story goes, he was speaking to a nation at a very tumultuous time. They were facing political attacks, uncertainty, and there was this question of where do we turn to for help? And so the prominent leadership, there was a faction that said, we need to turn to Egypt. And Jeremiah said, don't turn to Egypt. Don't turn to Egypt. Whatever you do, don't turn to Egypt. You don't need Egypt. That's not the path that he felt was wise. And so he was really dedicated to this. And the political leaders and the people with power said, no, we need to turn to Egypt. Egypt can rescue us. Egypt can save us. Egypt can come alongside of us and help defend us against the invasion. Spoiler alert, they kidnapped and imprisoned Jeremiah and took him to Egypt with them. But in the midst of all of that, this is what he said. He said, blessed are those whose trust is in the Lord. Now, if God is love as revealed in Jesus, then we might say blessed, which really isn't the American blessing, okay? You got to get rid of some of that idea that blessed is like hashtag blessed, look at my Lambo. That's actually a curse when you think about the ethics of our faith that tells us blessed are the poor, for they will inherit the kingdom of heaven. And we might say then that this blessed life, this life of wholeness, of fullness, of purpose, of stability internally, is founded in those whose trust is grounded in love. And Jeremiah goes on and he says this, he says, they shall be like a tree planted by water, sending out its roots by the stream. He says, and it shall not fear, the tree, it won't fear when heat comes, and its leaves, because its leaves will stay green. And in the year of drought, it is not anxious, and it does not cease to bear fruit. Notice, Jeremiah doesn't say, oh, it's going to have deep roots by the river, and there will never be drought. There will never be. No. It says, no, when the drought comes, when the heat comes, because it does come. Because that was the nature of the ecosystem that Jeremiah was in. He knew that. He said, when it comes, it's not going to shrivel up. So here's the thing. To be rooted in resilience means that our strength is not shallow. It's not performative. This metaphor of being rooted in resilience, of being a tree whose roots move towards a river of love. This metaphor, it drives us to say, how do I develop deep roots in the hope-sustaining, hope-building reality of love? Now, here's the thing. To be rooted in resilience is to be rooted in resistance. There's no other way around it. We can't say, oh, we want to be strong, we want to be resilient, and then live as far away as possible from the pain in our world. It is the most foolish thing that we do in American Christianity. It is the most foolish thing that we profess and assume that, oh, you know what? If I just there's a whole movement. Oh my gosh, here we go. There's a whole movement right now. And some of you are like being triggered by it because it's called Rooted. All right? And it comes out of a certain white evangelical space, and it drives people into these classical spiritual habits of going to church, giving 10%, all the legalism of it. And so if I'm rooted in this, then what happens? I'm elevated and I'm blessed. And that moves people farther and farther and farther away from the very source of love. And you know what the source of love is? The pain and the darkness and the hell on earth. To be rooted in resilience is to be rooted in resistance, is to say, my roots have to connect me to the pain and suffering in this world, because that is where love flows out of. Love is generated in pain. It is impossible. See, when we say Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, you want to find Jesus, you go to where the pain is. Is there anything wrong with going to church, reading your Bible, giving 10%, all that stuff? No. But those aren't the roots that flourish love in our lives. It is the tears. It's saying, I will not allow the comfort of my life to rob me of resiliency. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's why we do what we do. It's why we make tough decisions as a community of faith, because I genuinely believe that the great deception is that somehow love can manifest by saying a prayer, that love can manifest in this world by believing the right things. Love will only manifest when we set ourselves close enough to the pain to be transformed into love, to sacrifice. That's the story. God dying. That's the story. That's why Partners in Hope is important. That's why in the midst of our lowest season of giving in decades at Crossroads Church, just be real with you, We're not stopping giving money away. We're not stopping raising money for Partners in Hope, because what will transform our church, what will transform the world, is not a big building. It won't do it. It's not teaching that the more you pray, the more you'll be blessed. The more you give, God will give to you. No, it's setting aside every privilege and becoming like a slave and saying, how do I get closer and closer and closer to the pain so that the pain and the sorrow and the suffering can transform me? Because that's how love moves back and forth. That's the root system. If my root system is not connected to pain, if it's not connected to where the evil of this world is pushing and resisting against human flourishing, then I'm not going to develop love in my life. I'm not going to be nourished by love. I'm going to be nourished by all kinds of things that I'll call love, but is not love. And I have no idea where I'm supposed to be in my notes, so here we go. We're going to wrap up. That's what it means to follow Jesus. And people follow Jesus all the time and don't have the language for it. And part of what we have to do is learn that the fruit of the Spirit, our tradition tells us, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, long-suffering. Against such things, there is no law. So when somebody does it in some other name other than Jesus, are you trying to tell me that the God of the universe, whatever that manifests as, is so petty as to go, well, you got my name wrong? Away with you. Is so juvenile to be offended by it? Of course not. Where there is love, there is the divine. And the place where love is the richest and the most concentrated and the most powerful is right in the midst of pain and suffering. And we don't want that, I get it. But I think it's what transforms the world. So we're going to have communion together here. We're going to sing a song that says, "Let us be the church." And this song is really about this statement of like, can we actually be the called out ones? Can we actually be people that live in such a way that we are moving towards the pain and suffering in the world? And we're moving away from the certainty and the joy of believing the right things. And this comes into practice, right? I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, part of rooting ourselves close to pain is then getting active around that pain, right? This isn't about poverty porn, where we just go and look at how bad it is. That's one. No, this is about systematically bringing into our lives, allowing love to transform us. So this starts with things like giving up some time. How do we volunteer with folks like the Community Kitchen and other partners that we have? You know, my goal for our church is that 80-90% of our volunteering is done with partners and not here. Like, what? That's my goal. You should just know that about me. I'm sneaky like that. Like, I'd love for the majority of the money that we see flow through this place to flow out into programs that are led by experts, not church people that think they can do everything because they have the name Jesus. Right? That's the idea here. That's how we affect change. So I want to encourage you. Look for ways to volunteer. And as a church, we want to help you connect with local places that seem far away, like Haiti and Puerto Rico. Go and be a part of that. I want to encourage you to make a giving goal in your life. Give away money. Give away money. Give away money. I have never worried. I worried a little bit last night, but I never worry for too long about the money we give away. I've given away money I haven't had yet. Speaking of last night. But I'm going to figure it out because I don't quit. I don't quit. Make a giving goal. And if you don't give it here, give it someplace else. But give it here. And someplace else. Don't be an either or type of person. Be a both and. Be generous. It will transform. Here's the thing I know. You can't get close enough to pain and have resources. And if you're not saying, oh gosh, like I can use my resources here and still live a pretty darn good life, and that doesn't even motivate you to like transform, you haven't been changed. You haven't been saved. Oh, he said it. You haven't been saved from American Western capitalism if you can't give up something. If you can't give up a joy, a pleasure, so that someone can have a necessity, then you haven't been saved from it. Oh, sure, maybe you've been saved from fear of hell, whatever. But I know I haven't. There's areas in my life I haven't been saved yet from. I'm not foolish enough to think that I'm there. Wendy says, amen. Volunteer. Give to Partners in Hope. We have $30,000 left to raise this year to hit the matching fund goal. You all blew me away last night, to be honest with you. Somebody asked me what I thought we raised, and I kind of gave my number. And then they said it today, and I was like, holy cow, knocked my socks off. I had, what in the world? We had less people there last night, and we're better off right now in terms of our fundraising than we were last year with more people. So it's amazing, right? We have $30,000 left to give in a year for a community like this. That's amazing. And it's only the start, because our goal is to raise $1 million for Partners in Hope every year and to give away the majority of that. That's our goal. And I know it feels like we might be moving in the wrong direction sometimes, but I don't quit. I hope you won't either, because we got spirit. Did you like that? And it's a brand new day. A little throwback to the first song that some of y'all missed because you were getting your kids checked in, but it's okay. And here's the cool thing, right? Here's the cool thing. Before we got 2 songs and communion, all that stuff, this is so cool. And some of you are going to be shocked when I say this, because you're going to think like Aisha would say this, right? You're going to be like, that's Ryan. Here's the thing. When we are rooted in resilience, when we are rooted in the pain and suffering in this world, when we truly believe that Jesus is found in the least of these, and when we stop bombing the least of these, when we stop saying we can find billions of dollars for violence and we can't find enough money to feed people in our world, when we stop doing that, when we start making a stance, and when we say we're willing to see whoever leaves and comes and goes out of a church, but when we let our ethics and our values guide us and direct us, you know what happens? We are positioned for miracles. Because we're positioned for it right there. And here's the thing, I'm not a moral theist. So I don't believe in a God that sits on a throne, like interfering in human capacity in life. That's not me. Now, some others might, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So for me, a miracle is simply an experience that I never expected, and I have a very difficult time explaining. And I've seen it, but I've never seen it. I've never seen it without sacrifice. I've never seen it without pain, and I've never seen it without suffering. That's the beauty of this, is we get to experience those miracles. Some of you right now, the miracle you're experiencing is you can't smell my feet because you are positioned well. So we're going to sing a song, receive communion together. Communion's at our tables today, and there's some in the back for those who are in the bleachers. I hope that communion will invite you into a life of pain. Maybe not yours, but someone else's. And that life of pain will transform you and transform me and transform our church. And that we will be rooted in resilience, which means that we will be rooted in resistance. The body of Christ broken for you, the blood of Christ shed for you.